for your call today, and thanks for your kind remarks. I appreciate it. To Chattanooga, just down the road from me. Hi, Tracy. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. Appreciate you calling.
I just want to say I'm new to movie radio maybe about 5 years into it.
Okay.
And you guys are wonderful.
Oh, you're so
You are
sweet.
wonderful.
Well, thank you. Well, we love serving you. Thank you for saying that, though.
I want to do 3 things. The first thing is I want to ask 3 questions, and I'm going to make it brief.
Okay, and I've got 2.5 minutes, so I'm just giving you fair warning. Go ahead.
I'm going to make it simple. One of the callers was talking about car protection insurance. You know, when your car breaks down, do you guys have somebody you recommend?
We don't, unfortunately. So I would just read a lot of reviews, starting with the dealership that you are buying or have bought it from, but to do a lot of homework before you get into one and read the fine print. But unfortunately, no, I don't have a specific recommendation.
Okay, well, thank you for telling me that, because when I bought the car, they did put it up under warranty, but I haven't read it, so I'm going to do that immediately.
Okay, that's good.
Second question is, I want to buy a house, and I went to 2 banks. They told me that my credit is good, but they told me my debt-to-income ratio was too high simply because I have a student loan. There's nothing else, no credit cards, no mortgage, no none of that stuff.
Yeah.
So what do I need to do?
Well, unfortunately, there's not a quick fix to that, because those debt-to-income ratios do count student loans. They're just looking at your ability to repay based on whatever obligations you have against the income that you have available, and they're looking at that in light of you taking on a major new obligation in the form of a home loan. The problem is, if you don't fall into their guidelines, then you're into what's called subprime or non-qualified mortgages, which are available from some lenders. You'd have to look around for them, but they're going to be, the interest rates are much higher. Right now interest rates are already high. I'd said earlier 30-year rates for conforming loans with people with good credit are 6 3/4. You're going to probably be up over 10%. And I think the fact that what's even more important to me is the fact that they're telling you don't qualify. Usually I like to be more conservative even than their debt-to-income requirements. So if they're saying you don't qualify based on that, I would take that as just an indication, Tracy, as much as you may not want to hear this, that you need to wait, rent, save, and pay down that student loan debt before you make this purchase.
I got it. Okay, I can understand that, but they just continue to put my eggs in a basket.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's exactly right.
Well, I didn't want to hear it, but I'm glad you told me. I'm going to take you advice and run with it.
All right. Well, since you're a relatively new listener, I want to send you a gift. I'm going to send you a copy of Howard Dayton's book, Your Money Counts. And what it's going to give you, Tracy, is a good overview, a primer, if you will, of a biblical approach to managing God's money with regard to debt, investments, and your spending plan, and all of it. So you stay on the line, we'll get your information, and we'll put that in the mail straight to Chattanooga. And just know that when you get it, we're grateful for you being a listener, and it's just our way of saying thanks for being on the program today. God bless you. That's going to do it for us today, folks. Thanks to my team, Devin Patrick, Pat Montague, and Jim Henry. Couldn't do it without him. Thank you for being here as well. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and come back and join us tomorrow. Lord willing, I'll be here, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
90.5 KTXG, Greenville, Dallas.
Hamilton III.
If you really want to see the tides turning in our country, can I challenge you and encourage you? If the Lord could grab a hold of us in our family, you would see the tide in our politics turn.
The Hamilton Corner, weekday afternoons at 5 Central on American Family Radio.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
Conservatives. California Congressman Darrell Issa advocating for FBI reforms amid Republican probes into the Bureau's handling of the investigation into the Biden family.
We can't ignore the wrongdoing, much of which emanated
of the FBI, including suppressing America's free speech.
Meanwhile, the FBI is looking to move its headquarters out of D.C., but Republicans aren't all on board. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan reacting.
Why do you need to spend taxpayer money? The very taxpayers who you censor are going to pay for you to get a new headquarters in Maryland or Virginia? I don't think so.
Some House Republicans are putting forward legislation to stop all funding for the FBI's new headquarters, claiming the Bureau has launched unjust investigations. Moms for Liberty reported an increase in death threats and hateful messages aimed at their organization since the Southern Poverty Law Center labeled them a hate and anti-government group alongside the KKK. The SPLC recently named Moms for Liberty in their Year in Hate and Extremism 2022 report, attempting to pair the parental rights nonprofit with neo-Nazis and other groups. Moms for Liberty co-founder Tina Deskovich says she knows why her group is considered such a threat to the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Because we're effective, we are upsetting the balance of power, not only in public education in America, which has been controlled by the teachers union for decades, but honestly in our government system. We recently found out that the Biden administration has met with Southern Poverty Law Center 6 times in recent months. You know, they tried last year to use the DOJ and the FBI to give a threat tag to parents that were showing up. Our members were called by the FBI after speaking at school board meetings, believe it or not. And now they're meeting with the Southern Poverty Law Center leading up to the date that they announce and add us to their hate map. They are threatened by moms that are organizing and speaking up against their agenda.
A popular online tech magazine says it cannot recommend doorbell cameras because of concerns about racial profiling. Vigilantism occurs when mobs bypass the legal system to murder someone accused but not convicted of a crime. However, according to Wired, the technology magazine, when homeowners work with law enforcement to turn over ring footage of criminals on their or their neighbor's property, then they are engaging in vigilantism, and they are probably racist too. Fox News contributor Raymond Arroyo says cameras don't profile.
As a deterrence to crime, you see the ring camera, you don't want to approach because they might capture me trying to break into your house or doing something nefarious. That's a good feature of the ring, and we should be able to send video to anyone we choose, especially the police, when a crime is involved, and that's what this story was about. Teenagers admitting to killing a Lyft driver.
Yes,
why is this a bad thing?
A Christian law firm has vowed to continue its fight for Navy SEALs who still face punishment for refusing to take the mandated COVID shots.
Recently, in a 2-1 decision, the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit issued an opinion stating that an appeal of a preliminary injunction issued against the Department of Defense and Secretary of the Navy is moot because the vaccine mandate was repealed by Congress and the Navy subsequently repealed the policies the district court enjoined. The injunction prevented them from involuntarily separating or punishing U.S. Navy service members who have religious objections to the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. But Attorney Danielle Runyon of First Liberty Institute says there has been no credible assurance of future compliance.
While they say the vaccination status will not be considered for deployment, assignment, operational decisions, they continue to be treated differently than their vaccinated counterparts. So that has not changed, and we are going to continue to fight for their rights and the fact that overall the class was discriminated against through this process. Their First Amendment rights and their rights under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act were violated, and that's something that we need a final decision on.
In January 2022, First Liberty Institute and the law firm Hacker Stevens LLP won the first injunction against the military's vaccine mandate and Navy SEALs like Biden. First Liberty filed a lawsuit in motion for preliminary injunction on behalf of dozens of U.S. Navy SEALs and other naval special warfare personnel. I'm Chad Groening.
For American Family News, I'm Mr. Q.
Prior to birth, children need our help. Read A Pastor's Notes. God Calls the Church to Stand Boldly for Life by Pastor Joseph Parker.
We are called this day to stand for the innocent and speak out on their behalf.
This collection of essays by Pastor Joseph challenges us to take a public stand to protect the lives of the unborn. A Pastor's Notes is available now at resources.afa.net.
The body of Jesus Christ must speak up.
Welcome to today's issues. Join us for the next hour as we offer a Christian response to the issues of the day.
Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Myself here with Chris Woodward, and later on in the hour we'll bring in Steve Jordahl. But let me say what an honor it is to be sitting in for Tim Wildman, Ed Vitagliano, Fred Jackson, and all of the regular commentators and journalists that are part of Today's Issues. I'm on the road, and first of all, Chris, let me say it's good to be on with you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, greetings from Indiana, by the way. I am at my third of 6 Christian camps this summer. I'm in West Harrison, Indiana, and with 110 teenagers all week to talk about biblical worldview. But it's good to be with you. We've got a lot of headlines. We'll get into these, but I just have to be on record, Chris. I gotta praise God. God is so good. Well, for a couple of reasons. Okay. One, last week I was in Colorado, and I was on AFR from a Christian camp in Colorado. We had 19 teenagers accept Christ last week in Colorado, and there were 200 kids at that camp, and we were talking about God and country. That's what I talk to teenagers about. But 19 made a salvation decision. But the other reason I'm praising God, Chris, is because I'm staring out this window from a conference center, and probably 500 feet away is a cell phone tower. Now, cell phone towers enable us to set up all the gear and do remote radios. So, Chris, my life has become the search for a cell phone tower.
Yes, that almost is the title of a book.
Yes, exactly. But now you were saying your wife is from Indiana?
Yeah, my wife and in-laws are from the great state of Indiana. They're all from the northern section there. They refer to it, and people in the area refer to it as Chicago, even though that's in Illinois. But yeah, right. Shout out to all of our listeners there in the places like Portage or Valparaiso, South Bend, Michigan City. You have family ties down here in the Deep South.
Exactly. And this is Heartland America. Great people and great young people this week that we're talking to about, well, biblical worldview. And, speaking of that, Chris, when you read headlines, is it fair to say that we are in a battle of worldview?
Oh, yes, without a doubt. I've been here almost 13 years. August 2nd will be 13 years here at AFR, and every day is another battle in that ongoing war. But, it should not surprise us as believers. We do know there will come a day, and I do think we're in the last days where we're starting to have a separation and a falling away from the church. And it's my job, as well as Steve's job and others here in the news service, to help document these things, to get people to be aware of them and to be in prayer. I'm glad that you brought up the fact that there were so many young people in Colorado that came to Christ, because sometimes we hear stories, for example, a couple of months ago, if it's been that long, we had Jeff Hunt on from Colorado Christian University, and he was on with Jenna Ellis, and Jeff had talked about how it was important to stay active out west, because, as Jeff went on to say, we've lost Colorado. The West is gone. Democrats have taken it over. And sometimes when we hear stories about liberal areas like Colorado or California especially, we roll our eyes and think, they're lost. There are Christians, there are good churches, there are pastors that need our prayer. And so I'm glad that you and others are active in the camps to help lead people to the Lord, because you're going to have an impact on somebody else's salvation based on your work today.
Exactly. Well, and I give God the glory, and we have a lot of people that pray for us. And I want to circle back and talk about California and Colorado for a second. But the show that, if you recognize my voice, it's probably from a program called Exploring the Word. And 5 days a week live, Bert Harper and myself on the American Family Radio Network, we teach the Bible, the Word. And that's 3 to 4 Central Time, 4 to 5 Eastern Time. And so when I come out of the Exploring the Word realm and do things like Today's Issues, it really is a great honor. Mm-hmm. But I have people all over America that they say they're praying for us. And this summer we've got 1,250 teenagers in 6 youth camps. And then I'm speaking in a few churches and conferences as well. But Chris, I do want people to be encouraged, because look, I don't minimize the fact that we're in a battle and it is darkness versus light. But these kids, middle school, high school, man, they light up. We talk about Jesus, we talk about the Bible, the authenticity of Scripture, and the evidence, that's apologetics. And then we talk about morals and culture. And these kids, I assure you, they are hungry for truth. It's almost kind of like intuitively, they're wanting to know what's real. And so for all those that pray and they kind of keep up with our travel schedule, I really appreciate that. But listen to this. A month ago this week, I was in California, Chris. I was in Santa Ana, California, with a publisher that wants me to write a book about the gospel, kind of what is the gospel. But we were in the 7th floor of a high-rise office building, and he said, look out there, and he pointed, he said, there's a church, there's a big church, they're on fire. And he said, you know, you have no idea how many on-fire Christians are in California. And I've had a similar thing told to me in Colorado. I mean, look, I can think right now in Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, Grand Junction, Pueblo. I mean, there are some phenomenal on-fire churches because I've spoken in them. Here's my question for you, Chris. 20 years ago, Barna said the state in America that had the highest proportion of evangelical Christians was California. And I guess my question is, with such a remnant of people that believe in God and country, how can states like that just go so far off the rails into wokeness and just darkness? What do you think, Chris?
Well, number one, elections would be a big thing I would jump to here. A number of people are smooth talkers. They say what they want people to know or hear, and they get elected, and then they do horrible pieces of legislation and laws. Also, too, the news media glorifies certain people, and they cast others in bad light. So I would say it's politics and media. Obviously, the devil is going to find a way to prevent people from being the witnesses that we're all called to be. So I would say it would be those three things.
And let's remember that people we send into office appoint judges. And judges. And folks, there's kind of a multi-legged stool. I mean, there are city council that make ordinances, and there are school boards that approve curricula and put leaders in positions, and then there are elected officials that appoint judges. And I think over the last 25, 30 years, we've seen activist judges do so many things that at best are poor decisions and at worst undermine the Constitution. But we got to be in it for the long haul. Now, Chris, I know there are a lot of headlines.
Yes.
I want you to kick that off. One thing that this might sound minor, I don't think it is. My mom and dad always taught me that the words we say reflect what's on the inside of us. Mm-hmm. And that's why mom and dad, we weren't allowed to say bad words. That's how, but our president, this has been in the news this week that our president has a potty mouth.
Yes. Yeah. Many people have kind of referred to him as President Potty Mouth. For those not aware of what I'm talking about, there's a news outlet called Axios, and it's left of center. One of many, obviously, liberal news outlets. But Axios has reported that President Biden has been known to yell and curse at staffers behind closed doors there in the Oval Office and throughout the White House. The reason this is in the news is for a couple of reasons. Let's go back a couple of years, if it was that far back. President-elect Biden had warned